Hello, Erev Tov. This is Jonah, and I'm recording this video to um, explain what I see as a possibility and unfortunately a high probability with respect to Israel. Things are unfolding in Israel, frankly, in ways that I've been talking about for well over a year, but it's now coming to a head. So I think I want to explain. I'm going to try to explain the sequence here. Um, so first, let's just talk about the parties. Clearly, Iran is calling the shots. Obviously, Hezbollah, Hamas, these are puppets, these are proxies for Iran. So everything that you're seeing happen is controlled by Iran. Now, Iran has formed strategic alliances with Russia, so it's really questionable as to Russia's role in this. Russia has interests in distracting the world from Ukraine, from deferring, getting nations to allocate some of their dollars, their military dollars, support dollars, to Israel versus Ukraine, and Russia has an interest in presenting a contrast of brutality to what they're doing. The brutality in Israel by Hamas makes what's happening in Ukraine look pale by comparison, and that's in Russia's interests. And Russia can do things while this is all happening, and they are doing things very actively while this is happening, and the news is focusing on Israel. So there's reports and reasons to believe that that Russia is somewhat involved in this, to what extent, but they also don't want Israel to tap their Leviathan gas fields and supply Europe. There was a pipeline that was going to be built across the Mediterranean that was squashed the moment Biden came into office. That pipeline would have brought Israel gas to Greece and ultimately Europe. So they really don't want to see that happening. So having Israel, there's reasons why Russia has strong interest in in a negative sense. And Iran's is obvious. I mean, do I have to tell you? Iran wants Israel destroyed. I mean, they want to absolutely kill all the Jews. And keep in mind, Israel's the little Satan. We're the big Satan. Okay, don't forget that. Okay, so that's some of the picture. Now, the other aspect is that you all wonder how intelligence could have missed this. Few reasons. One, Israeli intelligence, but also U.S. But we'll talk about Israel intelligence. For the border with Hamas, a lot of what Israel works off are cameras that are on poles, and Hamas very intelligently, strategically, used drones to take out those cameras on those poles, effectively blinding Israel for what was going on. And then Israel quickly moved to a base on the border, slaughtered the soldiers that were at that base, and then pretty much had the ability to do what they did. Okay, and so how did Israel miss the likelihood of this? That's going to be a serious discussion. Israel was allegedly warned by Egyptian intelligence. I have seen a number of reports that say that strong warnings were given to Israel by Egypt, even directly to Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, but he underestimated those or discounted those warnings, and it was said that even as recently as about a week ago or thereabouts, a high-level Egyptian security person contacted Bibi personally and emphasized that Hamas was about to do something big, something different, and something soon. And again, evidently those were considered fake or fake news, bad intelligence. So I don't think that he knew it was going to happen and decided to let it happen. I think it was a miscalculation. Now, this is not the war. This is the beginning of a war. So Hamas is being used by Iran, in my opinion, to draw Israeli troops to the south, to create great deal of panic in Israel, obviously to slaughter and kill as many people as possible. to draw a lot of Israel's resources and attention, and to start to deplete their Iron Dome inventory, their assets for taking down rockets and missiles. And they're doing that. They fired thousands and thousands of rockets. So I don't know how many or what percentage of Israel's Iron Dome was used. But that's, I believe, what they wanted to do. And to draw, Israel called up yesterday 300,000 reserves. They had called 100,000 previously. They've gone to 300,000. They have a total of about 465,000. So what did they had called up before? I don't know, 100,000. So they're darn near called up the entire country. This is unprecedented. In fact, they're asking people to even come back to Israel if they're Jews, to come and maybe help out in working hospitals and businesses, stores, and so forth, police or anything, so that the soldiers can go to battle. So it's and a lot of the spirit has been a lot of panic in Israel, because they always thought that their IDF would save them, and now they're like guys in pickup trucks with powered air gliders did this. There's a real question about Israel's intelligence and its ability to meet an overwhelming threat, or a threat when it overwhelms them. But again, this is the small piece of the pie. Hamas has very little capability militarily, but look the damage they did. Now let's go to the north. Iran, I think, planned to move to the next front to be on the north, Syria and Lebanon, and possibly both at once. And now once again they're using drones and rockets. Once again, they want to continue to deplete Israel's Iron Drone capabilities, draw all their resources to the north as well, splitting up Israel's military capabilities. So they're drawing them to the north and they're drawing them to the south. Now, at any point in time, Hezbollah to the north can set off thousands of what are essentially missiles, not rockets. These can go anywhere in Israel highly accurately. Okay, so if that were to happen, they can overwhelm the Iron Dome system just by volume. All right, and Israel would have to take another method to deal with that. What are their options? Well, before I explain that, let me go to the third front. The third front is internal. So you got Israel front on the south at Hamas, a north and a northeast front with Lebanon and Syria, and then a third or fourth front, depending how you count it, internally. So if you've seen, it's been relatively quiet in the West Bank, relatively quiet in East Jerusalem. Why? They should be going nuts. There should be terrorist attacks. There should be murders. There should be, buses blowing up or whatever. And it's been relatively quiet. And I think that is planned by Iran. And I think as soon as they open up a front on the north, then they will send the signals out to the internal part of the country. At which point, utter panic coming from all sides internally as well. Then they've set the stage up for what will be a next phase. At that point, Lebanon starts to fire ballistic missiles, not just rockets, not just drones. The ballistic missile volume is going to be increasing. And at that point, you have Iran ready to launch. They've been firing their missiles in northern Israel. Now you've got Iran ready to launch its ballistic missiles, knowing the country's in panic, the military is spread out, and the Iron Dome system isn't going to be able to handle it. Okay, for both reasons of overwhelming it, as well as running out of ammunitions for it. So at that point, what is Israel's options? They really only have a couple options, as I see it. One is a nuclear, and that can go two directions. That could be two ways. That could be direct ground, air to ground nuclear. It could also be an EMP. I believe it'll be an EMP first. In other words, Israel launching a nuclear weapon to take out electronics and surveillance and satellites and systems that control the systems that allow the Lebanese missile systems to be guided and so forth, and other things, other communications. So, but whether they hit them, with a nuclear on the ground to take out their missiles, or the EMP, either way, a nuclear weapon has been fired. That changes everything. Now, of course, Iran would also be launching its ballistic missiles, and again, Israel presumably will have already launched an F-35 and missile attack against Iran to prevent that. Again, potentially nuclear. It is no coincidence, in my opinion, no coincidence that America tested its national system, early warning system at 2:20 specifically, even the number, I have reasons for that, the time. So it's no coincidence it happened about 5 days before the attack. And as far as the date of the attack, there's a belief that this happened on the anniversary of Yom Kippur. It's kind of false because Israel does not go by a Gregorian calendar. It's a Hebrew calendar. On a Hebrew calendar, this was not Yom Kippur when they started. It was Shemini Atzeret and Simchas Torah. And this is significant because in a religious sense, not only is this a really important day for joy, which they've stolen, it is also a day that Jesus Christ, if you follow the knowledge of the New Testament, he showed up at the end of the Sukkot, at the end of the feast. That's when Jesus showed up at the temple, Solomon's temple, or Herod's temple, pardon me, and declared himself the living water. That was perceived to be a blasphemous remark, but that is when by Jews. But that is when he showed up at the temple. So when they launch on that date, they're not only attacking Jews, but to a lot of Christians, unbeknownst to them, they're attacking a lot of Christians. They're attacking the Christian ideology or Christian faith as well. So this once Israel makes the decision, because they have to either proactively or reactively deal with what I'm talking about, this has gone nuclear very fast. So America had to get its early warning system up and running with you guys, tested, and they're moving ships that are capable, maybe it's the Gerald 4, they're moving really, really powerful ships into the area. So the second, I said Israel has two choices. Of course, they're going to be using artillery. I didn't say that before. They have good artillery. Of course, they'll launch their F-35s, and they'll be scorching the earth with that. But in order to do the volume of damage to the ballistic missiles batteries, the nuclear, missile batteries that are in the north, that I believe they have to use a nuclear option. But also America can get involved too, and that's where we could see America launching ballistic missiles, Tomahawk missiles, aircraft, and so forth. You have an all-out war. What does Russia do? Well, if Russia's behind the planning of this, and as I said earlier, it's very conceivable that Russia gets involved in some way. And frankly, North Korea as well, because North Korea is supplying ammunitions to Russia, so it could for Ukraine. So they're doing that on their massive rail lines that are coming out of North Korea. So it's very possible that North Korea launches missiles as well. I don't know what Saudi Arabia will do. I don't think Egypt will help in either way, other than providing intelligence to Israel. Jordan is nothing to speak of. So that's where it's going, and it can go there very fast. None of this is in the stock market. This would be panic. This would be the ultimate black swan. So I'm saying to you folks, you should be dealing with your own heart, your own repentance, your own prayers, and you should know that what I'm describing may not happen, but if it's going to happen, it can happen very, very rapidly. In the twinkle of an eye, it can happen. Now, there's also one other thing, and that's God. And if this is biblical, it's a lot like Ezekiel 37:38, and what is going to stop it is God. Okay. In fact, the prophecy is that virtually everybody would have died had God not stopped it. Israel would have been lost. All the people in Israel would have been killed had God not stopped it. So what can God do to stop it? Well, now I'm getting really all crazy here and prophetic. If you want to know more about that, you'd have to call me personally, because this is a vision I've had for over a year now, and I tried to explain it a little bit, but I'm not going to put it on this video. So the vision that I have for what happens after that is something I can only talk about with you personally. Okay, I'm going to say pray for Israel, pray for ourselves, pray for peace, and pray that God is in control, and that God hears the cries of his chosen people and his faithful followers. Erev Tov, Boker Tov almost. I'm going in for dinner with my grandkids, trying to enjoy every moment. God bless.